you're deciding like to go with a bank or to go with a credit union, it's actually really simple. What's the difference between a credit union and a bank? Well, we're going to dive into this on Focus on Finance with Tammy. Let's get started. Banks and credit unions have many of the same services. You're going to be able to get loans, you'll be able to have a savings account, checking account, and other activities like that with both a bank and a credit union. So those things are the same. However, the thing that's different is with a bank is since they are beholden to their shareholders, which means their shareholders drive the bus. Since they are responsible to their shareholders to make a profit, that odds are things are going to cost more if you go to a bank. If you get a loan at a bank, the interest rate's going to be higher. However, if you have a savings account at a bank, the interest might be lower because it's going to be favoring the shareholders. So everything that goes on in the bank is a for-profit business, which is driving profits for shareholders. Banks can be a national bank or a regional bank. So when you see different banks, you could have a bank that covers the entire nation. You could have a bank that's just a local bank. Banks are covered by a lot of regulations as well as insured by something called the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. And that provides $250,000 of insurance on accounts at the bank. Now that is an account and a person. Just a quick overlook. Banks are for-profit entities. They are insured by the FDIC. They offer checking accounts, savings accounts, credit cards, debit cards, as well as some help with processing different things like loans. And also, if you're doing financial planning, some banks will have a financial planning officer that'll be able to help you out. And they are also beholden to so they are a for-profit. Their goal is to make a profit. And the only way they can do that is off of the accounts that are at the bank. Keep that in mind when you're deciding where to go to for a bank. Let's switch and talk about credit unions. Credit unions are nonprofit. They are owned by a group of people. They're a cooperative. The people that are account owners in the credit union are the members of the credit union. For example, I'm a member of 3 different credit unions, and that provides me with accounts. It's still a lot of the same benefits that you have with a bank account. Credit cards, loans, stuff like that, as well as my savings accounts and my checking accounts. Before I forget, make sure that you like and subscribe to see more of my videos. Whereas banks are a for-profit business and they don't typically have a specific niche that they serve besides people who want banking, credit unions are typically associated with an association or say an employer or a region. For example, you might have a university will have a credit union. You would have like a teacher's credit union. You might have a state credit union. You might have a national credit union. One of the largest credit unions, in fact, is the Navy Federal Credit Union. You can see that there's a lot of opportunity to join a credit union. Much like the FDIC, the National Credit Union Association has insurance for those accounts that are at the credit unions. With credit unions being nonprofit, that typically means that they have better interest rates on loans. So if you're getting a loan for a car or a house, or maybe you're getting a personal loan, odds are you're going to have a better rate at a credit union than you're going to have at a bank. Likewise, you're likely to have a higher interest rate return on a savings account at a credit union than a savings account at a bank. Shop around when you're deciding which one to go with, but keep that in mind that you might be better off going with a credit union over a bank. But it really depends on what your primary goal is. One of the things with credit unions is since they are typically very regional in design by how they get members, sometimes there's not a lot of branches for a credit union like there are with banks. But with online banking, that really isn't that big of a problem nowadays. We can review real quick. Credit unions are nonprofit. They are insured just like banks are. They are just as secure as banks. You can typically get better interest rates both on loans and on your savings account. And they are beholden to their members, not to shareholders. One of the myths, when I talk to people, they still believe these myths today. Like you have to belong to a certain group of people to join a credit union. Or you have to have some type of like special handshake membership to get into a credit union. And that's just not so. There are many different avenues to becoming a member at a credit union. And it depends on what works best for you. It might be a regional credit union. It might be an employer-associated credit union, a trades-associated credit union. There are a lot of different opportunities to join credit unions, and odds are they have a method or an avenue for you to pursue to become a member. It's really not that hard to become a member of a credit union. If you do a lot of traveling, you want to look for a credit union that has something called shared branch checking. And what that means is that you can go to any credit union as if it was your credit union. If you want to get money out, you could go to a local credit union. They can connect to your credit union and you can remove money from your account. For example, you don't have your debit card with you. Whatever it is that you want to do at your home credit union, you can do through basically a surrogate credit union and take care of your accounting business. The second myth is that credit unions aren't up to date on technology, and that simply isn't true. Nowadays, credit unions have many of the technological benefits that you have with any bank. You're going to be able to do online banking, you'll be able to do mobile banking, you'll be able to do deposit of your checks by taking a photo of them. So credit unions really have a lot of advantages to them. One of the other myths or misunderstandings is that credit unions aren't as secure as banks, and that simply isn't true. They are just as secure as banks. So you will be safe putting your money into a credit union. In fact, credit unions and banks both have very strict regulations on how they protect your money. Like I said earlier, credit unions are insured just the same way that banks are. It's by a different organization that insures them, but it is still insurance on those accounts. So whether you decide to bank with a bank or a credit union or both, your money is protected by regulations as well as insurance. If you decide to go with a bank or a credit union, it really comes down to sitting down with a pen and paper and deciding based on what you're doing, which one's going to be best for you. So it really depends. For example, our home loan is through a bank because we were able to get the best rate through the bank. But our car loans are through the credit union because for a car loan, we were able to get the best rate through a credit union. Most of our banking, our day-to-day banking is done through credit unions because we earn interest on the accounts. So we make a little bit more money. It's not a lot of money, but it's some. So every little bit helps. So when you're deciding like to go with a bank or to go with a credit union, it's actually really simple. You just need to sit down and figure out what your goals are. And those are going to vary based on what you're doing. If you're buying a house, you might go with a bank because they might be able to offer the best rate. If you're buying a car, you might want to go with a credit union because they're able to offer you a very competitive rate with a credit union. If you have a checking account or a savings account, you might go with a credit union because you're going to be earning more interest on that account. It really depends on exactly what your goal is and what you want to do and the timeline you want to accomplish that in, and which is going to be the best avenue for you to go down. Take some time and look at the different banks and the different credit unions in your area, and odds are you're going to be able to find one that works exactly for what you need it to do. I'm interested in what you think. I know you have questions about personal finance, so take some time and put them in the comments below, and I will be sure to answer them.